Okay, let's dive in. Today we're really unpacking a figure who has, well, undeniably reshaped modern media, politics, even how we talk about masculinity.
Yeah.
He went from stand-up reality TV host to basically hosting what many call the most influential podcast out there.
Hmm.
We are, of course, talking about Joseph James Rogan.
And his path is it's just a fascinating case study, really. It mirrors the decline of the old guard, the legacy gatekeepers,
Right.
and the rise of the independent creator. He's a walking paradox, isn't he?
Totally.
Champion of open-mindedness, but accused of spreading misinformation, calls himself a liberal, yet he's become this kind of kingmaker for the American right.
So this deep dive, we're going to try and unravel how he actually built this kingdom and how he handles all the controversy that seems to constantly swirl around it.
Exactly.
We got a good stack of sources for you, bits from his Wikipedia page, his own website, and this really interesting report called The Rogan Enigma, From Cage to Kingdom. Our mission here, really, is to pull out the key stuff, the important nuggets, so you can get a handle on how this unique figure got so much cultural power.
And what that reveals about the whole information ecosystem we're navigating today, it's pretty wild.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. Born in Newark, New Jersey, 1967. But the early life, that's where things get really interesting. A lot of instability there.
Oh, absolutely. His parents split when he was 5. By 7, he's estranged from his father.
Right.
And he described his father as psychotic, violent, recalled, brief, violent flashes of domestic violence.
Wow.
So you can see how that kind of background might be a major driver for his later worldview, this deep need for personal strength, self-reliance.
It wasn't just the family situation. His physical environment was constantly shifting too, right?
Yeah, constantly. Newark, then San Francisco at 7, then Gainesville, Florida at 11.
Before finally landing where?
Nuna, Upper Falls, Massachusetts. So this sort of nomadic upbringing, it must have forced him to be adaptable, resilient.
Skills that definitely served him later.
Absolutely. And he also talked about being, shy, introverted, kind of undersized as a kid, terrified of being a loser, scared of conflict, which led him directly to something quite transformative.
Okay, so this fear of conflict, it actually sparked something. What was that?
Martial arts. It really clicked for him. Started karate at 14, taekwondo just a year later. He saw it very clearly as a tool, self-defense, confidence building.
And you have to wonder, how much did that early dedication shape his discipline later on? That relentless self-improvement thing he has.
It seems foundational. I mean, he got really good. Massachusetts state champ in full contact taekwondo, 4 years running.
Whoa.
Won the U.S. Open Taekwondo Championship as a lightweight at 19. Then beat the middle and heavyweight champs for the Grand Championship. Elite stuff.
But then he stopped competing. At 21.
Yeah, frequent headaches. Seemed like a pragmatic choice, assessing the risk. But martial arts wasn't done with him. Years later, he gets hooked on BJJ.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, yeah. After seeing Royce Gracie at UFC too, right?
Exactly. And his dedication to BJJ is, well, it's pretty intense. He holds black belts under 2 huge names, Jean-Jacques Machado and Eddie Bravo's 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu.
That's serious commitment.
It is. And he talks about martial arts as this moving meditation, a way to clear your head, connect with something primal. That whole philosophy that the mat, the octagon, reveals objective truth, who put the work in that seems to underpin his whole worldview.
So from that intense discipline of martial arts, how does that lead to stand-up comedy? It seems like a jump.
Well, he felt kind of directionless after college. It was actually his friends who pushed him towards stand-up in '88.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor was a big inspiration.
Yeah.
His early style was described as edgier blue comedy, influenced by guys like Sam Kinison and Bill Hicks.
Right.
More confrontational.
Right.
And even then, you saw that mix, right? Funny, but also pushing buttons. Some critics loved his wit. Others felt his personality maybe overshadowed the actual stand-up chops sometimes. It's still debated.
Then in '94, he heads to L.A., lands his first acting role.
Yeah, Fox sitcom called Hardball. He didn't love it, apparently. Found the creative interference frustrating. But then came news radio. NBC, 1995 to 99. He played Joe Garelli, the electrician, and conspiracy theorist.
Which is amazing foreshadowing looking back now.
Isn't it? Just incredible. Previewing themes he dived deep into on the podcast years later. He apparently saw it as mostly an easy job for the money.
Allowed him to keep doing stand-up on the side.
Exactly. To hone that craft.
And then the show that really put him on the map for a huge audience, Fear Factor?
Right. NBC, 2001 to 2006, then that brief return in 2011 and 12.
Why did he take that gig?
Primarily, he said, to get material. Observations for a stand-up. And it definitely cemented that public image, didn't it? Confident, cool under pressure, watching people eat bugs.
Yeah, definitely memorable. But his connection to the USC, that feels really core to his identity, too.
Completely foundational. He started way back in '97 as a backstage interviewer. Left after a couple of years, said the travel costs were too much. But then, connecting the dots here, he comes back in 2002. Dana White's taken over. Rogan works for free initially, just for good tickets.
Shows real passion for the sport.
Totally. And for over 20 years, he basically became the voice of the UFC. Huge role in educating fans, growing the sport, won multiple MMA Personality of the Year awards.
This commentary style is pretty distinctive. Lots of technical insight, raw excitement.
Yeah, though sometimes criticized,
Right.
right? For maybe hyperbole or bias. Like during the Ronda Rousey era, that got mentioned a lot.
Okay, so all these different threads, comedy, acting, UFC commentary, they all seem to lead towards this massive thing he built, the Joe Rogan Experience.
Right.
And it started so simply. Christmas Eve, 2009, free podcast you stream. Him and Brain Red Band just...
Sitting in front of laptops bullshitting. That was their description.
How did that become this media giant?
Well, consistency was key. Went from weekly to multiple episodes. Now there's, over 2,000 episodes?
Yeah.
Each one is long, usually 2-3 hours. That creates this enormous library of content.
And the long format itself, that's kind of revolutionary, isn't it?
Absolutely. It forces a certain depth, a spontaneity you don't get in clipped interviews. Yeah. Creates this real feeling of intimacy.
And Rogan's role in that. He's not the expert.
No, and that's crucial. He positions himself as the curious learner, the proxy for the audience.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to ask basic questions, admit he doesn't know something.
Which makes it feel less like an interview, more like eavesdropping on a conversation.
Exactly. It lowers the guard, makes the listener feel like they're right there figuring things out with him. It builds incredible loyalty.
And the guest list, it's just wild.
The sheer breadth is stunning. Scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson, massive figures like Elon Musk, then, really controversial people like Alex Jones.
Yeah.
That eclecticism, it projects this image of radical open-mindedness, a search for truth, wherever it might lead. And that pulls in listeners from all over the spectrum.
And the numbers just kept climbing. By 2015?
Yeah, January 2015, 11 million downloads a month. By October that year, 16 million. One of the biggest free podcasts anywhere.
Which naturally leads to Spotify.
The big one. May 2020. Exclusive licensing deal. Estimated $200 million. That just fundamentally changed the podcasting landscape overnight.
And around the same time, he moves from LA to Austin, Texas, builds that new studio.
Yep, $14.4 million place in Austin.
Yeah.
New state-of-the-art studio setup. Then, February 2024, he renews the Spotify deal, up to $250 million this time.
But with a huge change.
Right. No longer exclusive.
What does that move tell us? Going non-exclusive after that huge exclusive deal.
Well, if you zoom out, it looks like a masterful strategic move. It spreads the risk, right? His content goes everywhere, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever.
Solidifies him as his own institution almost, not tied to one platform.
Precisely. He's now basically dictating terms to the massive platforms. Shows you the power he's accumulated.
So beyond the deals and the guests, there's this distinct philosophy, this ethos that underpins the Rogan brand. People talk about this holy trinity.
Yeah, that's common framing. Hunting, health, and hallucinogens.
Okay, let's break that down. Hunting.
He really advocates for it, but frames it as an ethical thing for meat eaters, a way to reject factory farming. He stresses eating what you kill, calls it humbling, connects it to our primal roots.
Right. Then health, physical fitness, that seems central.
Definitely. He links physical effort directly to mental well-being. Uses kettlebells, functional strength stuff. Follows Paul Satsouline's greasing the groove idea.
Which is epic.
Basically doing frequent, low-intensity reps of an exercise to build the pattern without fatigue, embedding the skill.
Interesting. And the third part, hallucinogens.
Yeah, he's a huge advocate for psychedelics. Cannabis, LSD, psilocybin, DMT. Sees them as tools for deep introspection, growth, understanding, consciousness. He even speculates they might have been key to human evolution.
Okay, so this commitment to wide-ranging, unfiltered conversation, exploring all these areas, it's also landed him in hot water. Repeatedly.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about the COVID-19 stuff. That was a major firestorm.
Huge. He used the platform to voice skepticism about public health measures, remember?
Yeah.
Said young, healthy people didn't need vaccines.
Which got pushback from Fauci, the White House.
Right. And he hosted guests like Dr. Robert Malone, Dr. Peter McCullough. They pushed claims about mass formation psychosis, vaccine deaths, stuff that was widely flagged as false or unsubstantiated.
And he talked about using ivermectin himself.
He did. All of this led to that open letter, right? Over 270 doctors, scientists calling the show a menace to public health.
Then Neil Young, Joni Mitchell pulled their music from Spotify in protest.
Yeah, Rogan did apologize, said he wasn't trying to spread misinformation. Spotify ended up pulling, I think, over 70 episodes and added content advisories.
Which raises that whole massive question about platform responsibility, doesn't it?
It really does, and it got more complicated later, remember. January 2025, Mark Zuckerberg's on JRE claims the Biden administration pressured Facebook over posts about vaccine side effects. It just keeps swirling.
And there was another huge controversy around his past use of a racial slur.
Yeah, February 2022, that video compilation went viral.
Yeah.
Artist Indie Airy really amplified it.
How did he respond to that one?
Issued a long apology. Called it the most regretful and shameful thing he'd had to address. Said clips were out of context, but admitted it looked horrible. Said point blank, it's not my word to use.
And Spotify's response.
Pulled even more past episodes.
And it hasn't stopped there, has it? There have been other controversial topics.
No, quite a few. Criticizing trans women in sports, promoting that debunked litter boxes in schools thing, though he later walked back the proof part.
The ADL condemned comments about Jewish people and money.
Right. February 2024, pushing debunked claims linking paupers and AIDS. And more recently, April 2025, celebrating the comeback of the word retard. It's constant.
So what is the impact of all this? What's the Rogan effect?
It's massive. Look at the audience. Mostly male, around 80%. Young, 2 over half are 18-34. That's a key demographic culturally, politically.
He's seen as huge in the manosphere, right? A kind of refuge from woke culture for some.
Arguably the most influential figure there, yeah. And that chumcast style we talked about, informal, long, feels like a private chat.
That builds that intense connection.
Exactly. Which has somehow turned him into this unlikely political kingmaker. Interviews on his show can totally reshape how people see public figures, give them a platform traditional media might not.
It really feels like his strengths and weaknesses are just totally intertwined.
They're two sides of the same coin, absolutely. The commitment to free speech lets him platform almost anyone, which is fascinating, but also leads straight to spreading misinformation or offensive stuff.
And that anti-establishment individualistic vibe.
Fuels both the appeal and the controversies. It's all part of the package.
So wrapping this up, what's the big picture here? What does Rogan's journey really tell us?
Well, his career is just this incredible example of relentless self-invention, right?
Yeah.
And leveraging authenticity, or at least the feeling of authenticity, in this digital age.
He didn't just make a successful podcast. He built a media institution that now kind of calls the shots with giant corporations.
It really shows the power that top creators have today. It's a different world.
And now, with this non-exclusive Spotify deal, his stuff is everywhere. YouTube, Apple Podcasts.
Which raises the question, doesn't it? How is that continued massive influence going to keep shaping public conversations globally?
His legacy feels complicated.
Deeply complex, pioneer of the medium, no doubt. But also right at the center of these huge debates about truth, misinformation, responsibility online.
Yeah, the Rogan enigma.
Yeah.
It's not just about him, is it? It's like a mirror reflecting this chaotic, sometimes amazing, sometimes scary new information world he helped build.
It really is. And it's a powerful reminder, maybe, that in the 21st century, the loudest, most influential voices might not come from the usual places.
Not from polished newsrooms.
Nope. Might just be a guy in Texas with a microphone and this fierce belief in just talking, unfiltered.
Something for you, the listener, to definitely think about. How do these incredibly powerful, sometimes raw voices shape your own view of the world? And how do you navigate the information they put out there?